Let me first of all just say congratulations.
Thank you.
You've just been honored by your peers, fellow casting directors. What's that like? How's it feel?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's so great. And also, it was an amazing artistic experience, this one. So, it was the pinnacle of a theatrical experience I've had. So, that is kind of amazing. And that other people enjoy it as well.
What ways made it the pinnacle of your theatrical experience? What about this project in specific?
The artistic team, the producers, and also I did it with my mentor, Daniel Swee. We cast it together, and he taught me everything. He gave me my first casting job, and so then full circle, I think. And the director, Marianne Elliott, is spectacular. And once you reach that, you just want to keep working with the same people.
Brilliant production, by the way. I was fortunate enough to see it when I was in New York.
That
It was
Alex
just
Sharp is so good,
it
as is
was
everyone else. Yeah.
brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Um, Casting is part of a very collaborative process,
Yeah.
obviously. I like to think of it as a bunch of storytellers getting together, whether you're directors, writers. So, what specifically about casting appeals to you as a storyteller? So, why casting as opposed to any of the other parts of the puzzle that go into building a production? Why casting for you?
Well, I think that you hit it right, that you're telling stories. It's a storytelling profession, and that it's visual as well. And so I always feel like it's like, putting the visual picture together a little bit, but telling the story. So how do you do that visually? And you're not a photographer, it's moving parts. And so also it's not your story that you're telling, it's the director's story that you're telling. And so you have to find out what his story or her story is and tell that story, that version of the story, not what you think it is, what do they think it is? And which actors possess those qualities to bring that story into fruition.
Any particular memories about this project? Any audition stories that jump out at you in the creation of this project, this wonderful play?
I think that with Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, it's movement. There's a lot of movement in the play as well, and we had to do movement calls for plays, which is very unusual. Usually that would be for musicals, and you would do dance calls. And for this, we had to do movement with Stephen Hoggett. And all of the actors who were auditioning had to be in a room together. And so all the Christophers that we were auditioning had to be in a room together and do a physical movement. And there you could see Alex Sharp could just do the movement in addition to all of the other spectacular acting work that he did. And just so that kind of summed it up. It was a clincher moment where it was just like, everyone ran out of the room and was like, and did you see Alex Sharp doing the movement? And you kind of were like, oh my God, we're onto something.
Nice when you have moments like that are clear and make it easy.
Yeah, but there's so many of them.
How about the hardest part of casting? You go the opposite way. What's the toughest part of what you do?
Well, is it like theater-based or any project or whatever?
I would say maybe any project, and that'll lead me to say the difference between the theater versus film or TV. I know the process is quite different.
Yeah, or I think actually this is all three. It's that you become a middle person. You're not ultimately the person that has final decision, and also we have to remember that it's art, but it's also commerce, and that everything that we do, so much money is at stake, and that you cannot be naive and think that, we should be able to do whatever we want because it's art. That doesn't really work, and so you really have to be married to your partners, who are your business partners in making the art happen and fruition, and fly. You have to embrace that part, because if you don't, that's the part that will just, burn you out and kill you and destroy you. But for everybody, for any kind of business, any kind of corporation, if you're in the machine, you're in the machine. So how can you work with the machine?
That may actually be the answer to my next question. You may have touched on it, which is, as an award-winning casting director, what advice would you have to people coming up through the casting system, young associates and assistants who are looking to grow their business to become CSA casting directors? What advice would, say that there's lots, of course, but what's the biggest piece of advice you would give somebody coming up?
I think we're in a different time now. I think it's a new generation, and we're now in a union, and so we actually have a pension and we have health insurance for all of these things, which is miraculous. But most of the people tonight all thank the people who came before them. who taught them everything that they know. And like, it is an art that you need to learn and you need to apprentice. And I know that we're in a world where you don't intern anymore and all of that stuff, but you have to learn this craft and you have to apply yourself, and you can't just be, I'm an associate. I'm an associate who works in the union and I want my pension. Like, you don't. It's an art, and it's passed down from person to person to person, and that's going to be the thing to focus on.
Excellent. Cindy, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank